Any doubts about the involvement of China with India's affairs, not just from Pakistan, but from other countries, is going to be proven with people relating actual real life incidents that took place in India. If you thought that China is merely helping Pakistan and Bangladesh, you are wrong. There are other countries also which are being either forced or doing it on their own to help out many things. And that's the topic that I'm going to be talking about today. This will shock you. It will show you the corruption that exists all the way from the local police to the district police to the administration to the Indian Navy as well as Coast Guard. Everywhere there is corruption. And this is really, really tearing the fabric of India. I'm going to tell you a story of what the real reason for the fishermen that get arrested in Sri Lanka is. There is also a conversion angle that is of a lot of concern. And come on now, this is getting really out of hand. And I hope that somebody from the PMO office watches this and starts taking action quickly. I'm going to tell you what really happens when a fisherman from India gets caught by the Sri Lankan Navy. First of all, these people are wantonly crossing India's borders. There are markers, lights telling you this is where the Indian border ends. I think it is typically 12 miles, plus there is a few more miles of sea before you get to the other side. There could be an overlap also in some places where 12 miles from our side and 12 miles from Sri Lanka might be intersecting on common sea. Be that as it may, how many things are being done with total blatant disregard for the laws of the land will shock you. I have a small slide deck and a small request to all of you. Please like this video, and also if you have not subscribed to our channel, please do subscribe to our channel. I've got some actual first-hand witness accounts of how the fishermen have been forced to spend time in jail, and they have to come up with a bail of 250,000 Sri Lankan rupees. These are fishermen. Where are they going to get that money? So I'm going to explain to you how that money is getting sourced and in exchange for what. All this stuff and more in this. So here we go. The real story behind the capture of fishermen in Sri Lanka and the culprits. Are they really catching fish or are they smuggling? That's one of the biggest questions that came to my mind when I heard this thing from various entities, various people who've been telling, look, this problem is getting very serious and that Indian government needs to act. It's no longer, I'm sure a lot of the stuff that I'm going to share is available with the intelligence agencies in India. They are aware of it, but nothing comes out in the open until people become aware of the kind of dangers Indian society faces from all these nefarious activities. So who are the culprits? Is it the fishermen, the Sri Lankan Navy, or the boat owners? Or is it somebody else? By the way, there are two types of boats, mechanized and motorized. And each one has a certain amount of concession where they get diesel at a concession rate because they're supposed to be poor, that they need more, and therefore they get subsidy, they get subsidized diesel, and knowing that they have to abide by the Indian rules, they still go ahead and flout it, and then they get captured by Sri Lankan Navy. But they don't seem to be too concerned about it. What typically happens is that the Indian fishermen stray into Sri Lankan waters. So now I'm telling you, it's not just fishing. It is true that some may fish, but the big money for all these people apparently is smuggling. Whether they smuggle for themselves or for somebody else, that appears to have been the main trade, and they seem to be taking their boats. They're willing to be captured by the Sri Lankan Navy. The interesting thing is, by the time they go to the high seas, they take away the license number of the boat. So when the boat is captured, it is captured without a license number. How can that be possible? Because they are actually getting this subsidized diesel, I told you, right? They're getting other subsidies also because of the license plate number that they have. The interesting thing is there is a price separately for the license plate number apart from the boat itself. If the boat gets confiscated, sometimes it does, then you need to pay 8 lakh Sri Lankan rupees to get it released. Guess who pays that? Well, this is also another question that will be asked and answered in this deck. So the first one, what is the main reason? The main reason, appears to be smuggling. 95%. Somebody told me 95% of the people who are on these waters who are getting caught are actually smugglers. Only 5% are innocent. And even those innocent people, there is a way that they are being caught and they are being harvested to convert. And that I'll come to you with proof. I'll show you with proof how this conversion is happening. Who's catching them? Is it the Sri Lankan Navy or is it someone else? Well, in the 2009, when the Sri Lankan Army finished off LTTE, it was seen that there were a lot of people from the Chinese Navy assisting Sri Lankan Navy. Now what is happening is it's not the Chinese Navy assisting Sri Lankan Navy, it is the Chinese Navy directing the Sri Lankan Navy. The boats that have motors on them, these motors are Chinese make. They have walkie-talkies that are not supplied by the Indian government, but they are supplied by China, and these walkie-talkies enable them to securely communicate between Sri Lankan land and Indian land. Whereas India supplied walkie-talkies stop at around 8 to 10 miles from the shore. And it is believed that that's enough for them. And what is this Kachativu angle? That Kachativu where people have once a year festivals, what happens there? So a lot of questions here coming up. So the activity here is not fishing, it appears to be smuggling. What exactly are they smuggling? Is it drugs? Is it something else? Then what about all the people in local enforcement? What are they doing? Why are they not catching these people? And what kind of national dangers do these possess? So like I said, that it appears now these Sri Lankan patrol boats who capture these fishermen, they appear to be directed by a Chinese Navy person who seems to be telling, do this, do that, and so on. Previously, it used to be that these guys had to have a big flashlight on top of the Sri Lankan naval boat, and that light would basically give them advance information of a pending or impending Sri Lankan naval boat, and many of them who had powerful motors could escape. In fact, they have motors that are having higher horsepower than some of the Sri Lankan patrol boats. They can actually outrun them. This has also happened. But what is really going on when these guys get captured? Well, the Sri Lankan Navy person who is directing the order, and like before, they are not doing this flashlight business. Instead, they are doing laser lighting. And when they do laser lighting, they are too close and it is very difficult for anyone to escape. I'm not saying what they are doing is wrong. Straying into international waters, knowing fully well that you have crossed India's boundaries, is a crime in itself. And also, there are some areas where the ground is shallow. And when it comes to that, many of the boats cannot even go there. And that also gets broken routinely. Now, the three places, Rameswaram, Pamban, and Mandapam, from where many of these fishermen take off, each has a different situation. Like, for example, I'll tell you, in Rameswaram, there are 900 mechanized boats and 400 have license. The others don't have. Then what happens? When a boat gets captured, there are 900 boats, there are only 400 licenses. How are the remaining 500 operating, you ask? Well, what they do is they take these number plates and then put it on a vessel when they leave Indian shores so that they can be tagged as if they are valid. But then once they go to high seas, they take away the number board. So when it gets confiscated, the boat is just kept in a harbor in Sri Lanka and they come back with a number plate because they have more boats to waste. And in fact, they don't even worry that their boats have been confiscated in Sri Lankan waters and Sri Lankan land. The Indian government, out of compassion for these fishermen who have lost their boats, gives them up to 8 lakhs now per lost boat. And I don't know what kind of proof they are asking for. If they are giving that 8 lakhs, they should be asking for a license number plate on bearing which that vessel was sent to Sri Lanka. And if that is the case, then that plate should be cancelled. No more benefits on that plate. Whereas these people are willfully breaking these laws, and many people know about this and they are doing nothing. Now, if you take a look at Pamban, they have 65 unlicensed boats with no number. But there are some boats with 44 numbers. See, every kind of combination that you can think of is being played out here. Sometimes these people, when they try to escape the Sri Lankan Navy, go and dock at Nagapattinam. where there is not even any rule about numbers and licensed numbers of boats. Evidently, that is all a DMK stronghold. So anybody who asks any questions gets threatened. So you have total jungle law prevailing in some of these places, some law and order in some, but nothing is going to be able to stop what is going on. So how is it that the Sri Lankan Navy is allowing a Chinese naval person to direct this whole catch? So what happens is, once you are caught, you are thrown in jail and you have to post bail before you'll be released. For 30 days is what the typical time is. These guys go and spend there. When they come out, they have to post bail. The bail amount is 250,000 Sri Lankan rupees. These are dirt poor fishermen. Who pays for these things? Is it possible that some of them are smuggling and that the worth of one route of the smuggled values is like in crores? So they can just throw 2.5 lakhs? Is that what is going on? So everybody seems to be in the know and everybody seems to be taking a cut. What is really going on? Isn't there, drugs a menace? What else is getting smuggled? Is it automatic rifles, submachine guns, anything else, bazookas? So a lot of questions are going on, and then there is the conversion angle. I'll come to that in just a moment. I want to share with you some of the people, their names, who have been served these challans and they had to pay 2.5 lakh Sri Lankan rupees. Look at the names here. Michael Jayaprakash, 250,000 only. Being fired on he has got a number here off of the port of Mannar. Another one, Setu Muryandi Siva. Here, Anbusami Jayasuraj, Karupanyas Ravisania. Everyone one after the other. Sahayam, then Singapuria Anthony, Kandari Muniyasamy, Susai Sandhya Durai, Francis Jimmy Coadar, Don Bosco Arogya Fibron. Wow, very interesting names, I must say. But you see an underlying theme, underlying commonality between all these names, right? So who are they? They all belong to one community. And who is posting bail? Well, some say that it's the church that posts the bail. The church has contacts with their corresponding peers in Sri Lanka and they arrange for the money. God only knows how the settlements are done, because somebody is paying the money, somebody is getting them back. How is it that the two are connected? How is it that the people who get saved, especially those who are not Hindus, and then they are the fertile people for conversion, they get converted, and that is also going on. With FCRA, the conversion has slowed down, but it has not stopped. So these are all some of the big problems that are facing the Indian Coast Guard and Navy. And the thing that really horrifies me is that everybody appears to be on this gravy train. Nobody seems to want to care about what it means to the country. It's not a chalta hai attitude here. So I'm blaming everybody here. It's not just one group of people who are breaking the law routinely. It appears that from top to bottom, there is a lot of corruption. And also, one thing that people told me about is that, let's say some fishermen are caught. Then what happens is, it takes 24 hours from the time the Indian embassy in Sri Lanka comes to know of this, then they send it to the PMO. PMO has to act on it. Then they have to send it to the state, and the state will again go to the district level. There's like a series of steps that take place. So at least 24 hours before the Indian government can respond to a jailed fisherman. So in this 24-hour window, a lot of things get done. Like, for example, I said confiscate from the boat itself. Somebody's paying the money, somebody's getting the money. So these fishermen don't anymore fear the Sri Lankan Navy because somebody is compensating for them, and this looks to be a huge business now. So what needs to happen? First of all, tighten all the rules about numbers. If somebody gets lost on the high seas without a number, tell Sri Lankan Navy authorities, don't take the boat. Unless you have the number, you can't take the boat. Somebody needs to come up with a number. So this is the one thing that these people want to hang on to, presumably because they get the benefits of all the subsidies. So that's where you need to start. Get it all computerized. Make sure that only one number leaves every day. That's also there, right? So every hanky-panky there, if you go and observe how these people are doing, they're plying their trade, you'll be able to really find out who the smuggling group is and which are the real fishermen. By the way, there are no fish to fish off the Indian coast. I told you about the mechanized trawlers which go right to the seabed and scoop up even larvae, leave alone fish. And you have to stay away from that for a few years before the ecosystem can return. Right now, off the coast of Sri Lanka, there are some fish, but if the whole intent is not to fish but to smuggle, then God save India, because who knows what is coming in. Thanks for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to click on the bell button for notifications. Namaskar.